On January 20, the day Donald Trump was inaugurated, I launched a bipartisan, apolitical movement called Trump Disclosure. Please watch the entire video before jumping to any conclusions. Now, I know Donald Trump can be polarizing. However, I also know that I don't want to assume he will institute UFO transparency. Many believe it's a given and that we don't need to do anything to influence his administration. In reality, though, he might choose not to pursue UFO transparency, just like every commander-in-chief before him. I think it would be gravely dangerous to assume he will enact disclosure, and so we must remind him that it's incumbent on him to do so. That's what this movement is all about. This movement has nothing to do with glorifying or opposing Trump. It's entirely about holding the new administration accountable for the promises they made. After all, Donald Trump himself has said he would release new UFO footage.
A lot of people are very interested in the footage of UFOs. The Pentagon has released a few videos, and there's been anecdotal reports from fighter pilots. So a lot of people want to know, will you help push the Pentagon to release more footage, which a lot of people claim is available?
Oh yeah, sure, I'll do that. I would do that. I'd love to do that. I have to do that.
Trump said himself that he has to do that. But it's not just Trump signaling that he wants more transparency. His cabinet members have also been vocal in their calls for UFO transparency. One example of this is CIA Director John Ratcliffe.
Shortly after I became the DNI in June of 2020, I was the first one to publicly acknowledge that there was a unidentified aerial phenomenon task force through the Senate Intelligence Committee because I wanted there to be greater transparency to the American people about the number of sightings of things that are unexplained. And I know
he goes on to say,
we need to find out when there are, and there very clearly are now, hundreds of unexplained sightings, meaning that there's no natural phenomenon involved, there's no visual disturbance, it's not clutter or debris or birds or anything else, but objects that demonstrate technologies that seem to defy the law of physics and capabilities that we don't have as the world's superpower. You know, our role in the federal government is to provide for the common defense, and we can't do that if someone else has technologies that are better than we have. So
this is the current CIA director, folks. Although I know that footage that I just gave you, he was not at that time. Regardless, he openly acknowledged the true nature of UAP rather than downplaying their capabilities. After serving as DNI, he revealed that during his tenure, he was in favor of UFO transparency. No matter where you stand on Trump, the conditions are right for this to become the first administration in U.S. history to be transparent about UFOs. This is what drives me to persist with Trump disclosure. We could truly enter a new era within 4 years, an entirely new world. How could that not excite you? Do you not want to step into a post-disclosure world? Here's the video I dropped on X introducing everyone to my new movement. Welcome to Trump Disclosure. This is a movement whose mission is to influence the American government to change its policy from UAP secrecy to UAP transparency. This movement has no single leader. The leader is you. The leader is me. The leader is the fire within all of us that demands to know the truth about our universe. That fire is what ties us together, and it is what will lead us to victory. Truth for all and all for truth. This movement isn't about glorifying, endorsing, or critiquing Trump. It's about holding the new administration accountable for its promises. While we remain apolitical as a movement, everyone is welcome here. Trump supporters and critics alike, if they share our goal of ending UAP secrecy. When asked by Lex Friedman whether he'd help push the Pentagon to release more UAP footage, Trump responded that he, and I quote, has to do that. Furthermore, members of Trump's cabinet have signaled an unprecedented openness to UFO transparency. Combine that with recent congressional UFO hearings and newly enacted UFO legislation, and it's easy to see why President Trump is the most likely president in UFO history to deliver UFO transparency. I think we should take full advantage of this situation, to be quite honest. I don't know where this movement is headed or how it will manifest over the next days, weeks, and months. But I do know that it begins today. Hate Trump, love Trump, or anything in between. If you feel called to do so, I implore you to join. Reach out to your representatives and ask them to initiate UAP transparency, and let's collectively discuss why it matters. This movement is not affiliated with Donald Trump or any official Trump entity, nor does it receive endorsement or support from them. It is merely a movement of the people. I will not turn my back on this opportunity. I hope you won't either. We simply don't have another 4 years to wait. We've waited long enough. Stop UAP secrecy. On the topic of Trump's cabinet signaling support for UFO transparency, here's a video I made for my @TrumpDisclosureX account. All the videos I have published on this X account are now on my new YouTube channel, and we'll discuss that in a bit. Today, January 25th, Representative Eric Burleson of Missouri stated the following regarding reaching out to Trump's policy team.
I've been reaching out to Trump's campaign and to his policy team, trying to get them to consider UFO disclosure.
What have they told
as well,
you?
Do an executive order on that. And I think that Chuck Schumer, so one thing I think Chuck Schumer and I can find an agreement on is that the American people, really the world, deserves to know this.
This underscores how incredibly bipartisan the issue is. Both Republican Representative Eric Burleson and former Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer strongly support transparency on the UFO topic. Representative Burleson goes on to say,
I think Trump he sees himself as the people's president, and I think that if the American people, and there's an outcry for people that want the information, I think that Trump will deliver.
I think I speak for the majority of Americans that we want the Trump administration to deliver on UFO transparency. This is exactly why I started Trump Disclosure. I wanted to be a bullhorn representing the public's desire that the Trump administration not delay in initiating UAP transparency for the United States and, frankly, for the good of the world. Later in the interview, Burleson was asked what we'd see if the UFO files were declassified. He responded that he hopes we'll finally learn what really happened at Roswell, whether there were any attempts to cover it up, and the truth behind other significant events in UFO history. The Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK Jr., wrote the following yesterday on X as part of a longer tweet. JFK warned that the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secrecy. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Folks, we are literally in a golden opportunity to finally get true UFO disclosure from the US government. We cannot afford to take this opportunity for granted. Trump's cabinet, including RFK Jr., is harping on the need for transparency. It would be ridiculous if we get transparency everywhere, but with UFOs. We have to stay on the ball. Now, just to be clear, RFK Jr. has explicitly broached the UFO topic. Here's a clip of him doing so.
Because no other president ever goes in and tells us what actually happened. So
yeah, I'm going to have transparency. So I don't know if there's UFOs or not, but everybody's going to know whatever they know as soon as I get in there. And, all these the government's not supposed to be keeping secrets in a democracy.
When all the stars align to finally achieve UFO transparency, do you just rest on your laurels and assume your wish will be fulfilled? Or do you fight? Or do you fight to ensure that the end game is achieved? I've chosen to fight, and I hope you join me. Subscribing to my new YouTube channel, linked in the description below, will go a long way in making our voices heard regarding our desire for UFO transparency. You can also help this effort by following my X account at Trump Disclosure. We need to raise the volume on the necessity that the current administration sees to it that we get full UFO transparency, no mercy. If you're wondering why I take disclosure so seriously, well, that's a topic that could fill a whole video. However, military veteran Don Paul Bales, who has backed up UFO whistleblower Jake Barber and is also a UFO crash retrieval first-hand witness, had this to say on why disclosure is so crucial in this dangerous time our world is in.
We have multiple hot spots around the world which we seem to, as a species, be determined to destroy ourselves. We probably need a game changer event. We need something to make us stop and reflect and work collectively to a greater good.
We need the new world, or if you prefer less dramatic language, we need a post-disclosure world. For us, and for future generations, and for the survival of the animal kingdom, quite frankly. Don Paul Bales goes on to explain how the pursuit of truth is entirely bipartisan.
Yes, we need to disclose about UAPs and NHIs. We need to tell the truth about what happened to that president. There are many things which are undisclosed, which need to be disclosed. Or America's citizenry, it's not like we're losing confidence in our government. We have no confidence in our government. And I have friends who are hardcore conservatives and Republicans, friends who are hardcore Democrats and liberals. One of the few things everyone agrees with is that we're not getting the full story from our government, and our government's not always acting in our best interest.
Some of you might feel I shouldn't collaborate with the current administration to achieve full UFO transparency, or that Trump simply will never disclose, so what's the use? But I'm not willing to wait another 4 years to see progress, nor am I willing to assume that disclosure won't happen. And a hugely powerful Democrat I know also seems unwilling to wait. On January 23rd, former Senate Majority Leader, who's now the Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, wrote, "Now do UFOs," in response to a White House tweet showing Trump signing a presidential executive order to have the JFK, RFK, and MLK files declassified. To be clear, Schumer was literally telling Trump to declassify the UFO files just as I'm doing right now. This echoes what Don Paul Bales stated about friends on both sides of the aisle acknowledging the dangers of excessive secrecy. In this light, I personally feel it's perfectly valid to ask the current administration to declassify the UFO files, regardless of which side of the aisle we sit on. After all, this is what the public wants. Whether you voted for Trump or not, we can only work with the administration that's in office. And I don't want to shy away from that. I think we have a golden opportunity before us. Why waste it? I want the new world. To underscore even further how bipartisan the push for UFO transparency is, the highly anticipated Dan Farr documentary, The Age of Disclosure, posted the following on X. The truth is coming. Watch the explosive trailer for The Age of Disclosure, revealing the government's cover-up of non-human intelligent life. 34 senior U.S. government insiders break their silence on this unprecedented documentary film. And of course, a lot of these senior insiders from the U.S. government are going to be Democrat, just like a lot of them are going to be Republican. And then from that tweet, Democrat Jared Moskowitz, representative of Florida, wrote, "The time has come at real Donald Trump. It's the golden age of disclosure." And so from my vantage point, whether you support Trump or whether you don't support Trump, it still seems strategic to get UFO transparency out of him, considering he ran on the ticket of transparency in general. Like that was his, that was what he was trying to sell as what he would fulfill as the commander-in-chief. And his cabinet is the most pro-UFO transparency presidential cabinet in U.S. history. So I think it's totally valid to push for transparency from him on UFOs. Now, I don't want to get it twisted. I'm not advocating that people should not criticize Trump, because of course they should. If you find there's anything that he's doing that you don't approve of, I'm totally good with people criticizing him. I'm totally good with people praising him, but I can still push for UFO transparency without contradicting my support of both those things. On January 27th, Christopher Sharp of Liberation Times wrote a very solid article titled "Pressure Grows on President Trump to Provide UFO Transparency." I will share a very good excerpt, and I quote, "Additionally, other witnesses and whistleblowers are expected to come forward, including former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper and Brett Feddersen, former Director of Aviation Security on the White House's National Security Council, who has gone on the record stating, 'We are absolutely not alone.' Both are set to appear in a new documentary titled The Age of Disclosure. In that documentary, Jay Stratton, former lead of the UAP task force, also appears, stating for the first time that he has seen non-human craft and non-human beings. Liberation Times understands that this documentary is poised to reveal groundbreaking revelations, with some sources even describing it as a form of disclosure. If leveraged effectively, the documentary, directed and produced by Dan Farah, could serve as a powerful communication tool for the White House, providing a credible platform to announce that humanity is not alone and is being visited by different factions of non-human intelligence. If Trump fails to act swiftly and decisively, he risks losing his credibility as a champion of transparency and may find himself forced into action as more whistleblowers emerge and events escalate beyond his control." So that all sounds very promising, but I still am intent on raising the awareness to pressure the current administration to follow through with their promises of transparency. And I would love if you subscribe to my new YouTube channel, Trump UFO Disclosure. The link for it is in the description box below, and it's the first link presented. Please do not forget to subscribe. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can check out my merch shop where I sell t-shirts. You could become a patron. You could become a YouTube member. You could give me a one-time donation. All those potentialities can be accessed in the description box below, or you can just slap a like on this bad boy and I'll appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Special thanks to all YouTube members, patrons, those that have bought merch, those that have given me a one-time donation. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.